All right.
Hi, my name is Roy Canterbury, and I'm going to be the host today on Arch Talk 101. And we have Hunter on the line with us. We'll be talking with him. Before we get started with that, I want to let everybody know how you can listen or watch this podcast. You can listen on Audible. Go out there, it's free to listen to. Just go out there and search for Arch Talk 101, and it'll pop up. You can also go out to wherever you listen to your normal podcasts. It's out there on Spotify and other places like that. And you can also watch the video. Sometimes there's some stuff we show and talk about on here that nice to be able to see. And you can see that in the Arch Talk 101 Facebook group, as well as on my YouTube channel, Learn to Fix It Yourself, the name of the channel. Search for that. And I have a lot of archery podcasts out there, as well as shooting instruction and forums and tips and stuff like that. So, feel free to look at those. If you have any questions, just contact me or Hunter. Either one of us would be good. And if you join the Arch Talk 101 Facebook group, if you're having struggles with something, just take a video with your camera and upload it to the group, and we'll give you some pointers. So now let's get stuck and talking with Hunter because that's kind of what we're doing here today. So welcome to the
Yeah.
show, Hunter.
Thank you. Awesome to be on.
Uh, how about you introduce yourself and tell us a little something about you and how you got started in archery?
Okay. Well, my name's Hunter Geer. I am 22 years old. I've been shooting a bow since oh boy, since I could pretty much walk. Basically, my grandfather he owned an archery shop. My dad and my other grandfather they were both big into archery hunting, specifically deer hunting. So I mean, I had a bow. It was like written in the clouds, I guess, that I was gonna have a bow in my hands from an early age.
Yeah.
And pretty much the time I could walk, I had I called it, I guess I called it my Robin Hood bow. It was just a basic, you know, wood bow with a string. Put a little flipper duct tape rest on it, and that's where it all started.
Well, you got started and you kind of
Yeah.
had, the family was in it, so it's kind of natural that you would pick it up as well.
Yep.
And
Yeah. It was just, and ever since, I mean, it's been a addictive rabbit hole, as we all know.
yeah, it can be.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. If you want it to be, it'll go that direction.
They got a couple of AIs that pop up. They're the one
Yeah,
that's I ain't figured out how to get that one to stop popping up because I use a different one that actually is better. I know it's not show up on the screen, so I want to go ahead and close that. Normally it starts up really quick, but it didn't this
yeah,
time. So anyway, little distraction out of the way, and we'll go back to the fun stuff.
yeah.
So when did you start hunting?
Um, so I started hunting. I guess like 4 or 5 years old. I started turkey hunting. I don't know. I think I was 5. I think. I remember missing my first turkey. Actually, I missed the same group of turkeys twice with a crossbow the first year. Um, and then hunted a couple years with a little 410. Missed a few more birds. Um, but I started deer hunting when I was 7, and I killed my first buck with a crossbow when I was 7. Still to this date, the most unique buck I've ever shot. He he had double main beams. I don't have a picture, or else I'd show you. He has double main beams, just a super unique buck. He weighed like 288 pounds live weight.
That's a
Just
big
a
one.
just an ancient old buck that my grandpa had on his property. My dad, they knew about him for the last, I don't know, it probably would have been about year 3. I think they knew about him. Just always not much on top, but he was sure a bully buck. And I harvested him, and then the official addiction started. I was always like enamored with deer. Like I know my dad, him and his dad, they're both super super successful whitetail hunters. I mean, everyone in the area they know them for whitetail hunting. They've been that way for a long time, and I was always, I'd always look at the mounts on the walls and stuff. You know, shed antlers. Like I was always just infatuated with deer. And then when I started harvesting deer, that's when it really took off.
Yeah, that sounds like that's pretty good story to start off with, being so young and getting such a big monster for a buck. And
Yeah. Yeah, that one's all most of my deer are actually on film. Um there that one specifically, if you look up my name and Love of the Hunt TV, it'll pop up. You'll see this little tiny kid. I'm like, real tiny. But that was my first deer I ever harvested. Was that crazy unique buck.
that was definitely something interesting. Let's see, I've got Outdoor Edge Love of the Hunt
Yep,
Hunter's Show.
yep. That would probably be it. It should be like, I think it's titled Mentor Kills 288-pound deer, something along those lines. I can't remember right off.
Yeah, let's see if we can go back. Yeah, okay, there's that one. So
Yeah,
Monte
there's a
Hill's
couple.
280-pound non-typical deer.
Yep. Yep, that one would be it. There's several videos. We filmed my family, we filmed for them for a while for Love of the Hunt. My mom was the editor of the show
Oh yeah?
for a while, so I mean that's where it all started. My whole life has been on camera growing up.
Well, I can actually share it and we can actually show this and you kind of talk about it a little bit.
Okay. All right, yeah.
There it is there. Let me go ahead and get it started.
Yeah. So if you skip about, I don't know, probably about halfway through is where it'll.
We've had a lot of close experiences turkey hunting. We just haven't been able to close the deal yet. This year, though, Hunter's finally ready to go after a big buck with a crossbow.
I'm gonna hopefully get a deer.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What's the plan?
We're going to go to Shannon.
This is like blackmail
Yeah,
against me for
see if
life,
we can
I
get
swear.
a buck with 4 inches of horn or more.
Any particular buck you're looking for?
No, not really.
Any buck you hope you see?
I hope I see this buck that we call screwball.
That is, in fact, the buck. Yeah.
Cool.
So about halfway through this night, we didn't see any deer. Right in there. Yeah.
That's good.
So the buck, he ran across the field. We got a quick glimpse of him chasing does across the field.
Hunter made the suggestion, hey, maybe we should rattle. So we picked up the grunt call, hit the horns together, and right before last light, that big boy came out in bow range. Man.
Man.
Good shot, Hunter.
My heart is pounding harder than it's ever pounded. Mom may have thought she was throwing a freezer, but my buck weighed 288 pounds.
Last night we had a little camera problem. Ran out of battery for the recovery, but we want to get some good light today because, Hunter, tell us about this buck.
He came in at last light. After I shot him, Dad wasn't sure if it was a good hit, so we went back to the house. We reviewed the footage on the computer. So he came out last night and found about 20 yards into the woods.
This hunt was even more sentimental to me than just Hunter shooting his first deer. During this time, my grandfather passed away, and my grandfather played a major role in my life, getting me out into the woods. The first evening we went out, we were actually hunting out of my grandpa's shanty, and there's a lot of connections from that shanty. The last buck my grandpa shot out of that shanty was also the same year that my wife was pregnant with Hunter. So you were even part of that at the time, without even knowing it, bud. I really think he would have enjoyed being here for Hunter's first buck. You look at it, you lose one hunter, but now we gain another hunter.
This right here, this week's show, this is what the love of the hunt is all about. A husband and wife spending time together in the tree stand. A father in the double blind with his son, watching him harvest his very first buck with a bow. Getting your entire family involved in hunting and the outdoor lifestyle. It's not about shooting 185-inch deer. Hunting was never meant to be about the length of the beard or the size of the rack. It is always and forever will be about the love of the hunt.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty
So that is where it started, and it is blown up from there. I mean, it's just every year I get more and more addicted into it, and put more and more work in every year. Just yeah, and it's a family affair. Everyone, I mean, I've filmed. Good grief, I've been with the only person I've not been with when they shot a buck was my dad, ironically. But I've been with my mom, both my sisters, several other people when they killed deer or their first deer. Which is one of my favorite things. I mean, every year I try to. The last couple years, I've had pretty good luck getting people like on their first deer, specifically with a bow. But yeah, I mean, that's just something I love, watching people harvest their first deer, specifically with a bow, but either way.
Yeah. Well, and that's the nice thing about crossbows is you can get somebody like you when you started that can't do a regular bow. Because the bow you'd have been able to draw back that time, a regular compound bow or recurve, wouldn't have been sufficient enough power to
No,
have
at
got
that
deer.
time, I was probably pulling 25, 30 pounds, if that.
Yeah, and that's not enough to make
Yeah.
a good clean kill on them. And
No.
that's the nice thing about crossbows is you start out earlier and you can go later because at some point as we get older, pulling them heavyweight bows is not easy, and going to a
Yeah. I
crossbow
mean,
is
that is
definitely an option.
the benefit of crossbows. Yeah, 100%. And that's a fine line with the whole crossbow thing. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. That crossbow line. I personally am. I'm the guy. I'm gonna shoot a compound until I can't. That's just the way I am. I know not everyone's like that, but I mean, I'll shoot a compound at 40 pounds if it means I can still be hunting with a compound bow.
Right. Yeah. Well,
I mean,
I define archery as a stick with a string flinging another stick.
yes.
Does a crossbow meet that definition? Yes. Does a compound meet that definition? Yes. Recurve,
Yes.
longo, all the bows,
Yes.
they all meet that definition.
I mean,
That
no
is
matter what,
archery
there's
is.
no way you can make everyone happy. Someone's going to be mad. The recurve guys or the trad guys, I'll just say, they're mad at the compound guys. Compound guys say it's cheating using a crossbow. Like, it's just, I mean,
it's just, yeah.
You look at it, the Indians would say we're cheating because we are using carbon arrows. Like, and we're using machine-made broadheads. They went out there and they, made all their own stuff. So I guess that's just the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah. Well, and archery's been around for 64,000 years.
Yeah.
And it's changed, it's going to, evolve completely. And, when I first got my first compound bow, the technology then, as opposed to 10 years later, 20 years, and clear up to now, because I've been shooting compounds for probably, I got one in the 70s. So about 50 years I've been shooting compounds. I started shooting recurves in the 60s. So
yeah.
It's one of those things, they constantly change. And the carbon arrow technology when it first come out was terrible. and now, there's really good carbon arrows out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Even just how I've seen it in, the time I've been alive, everything changed.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like it's just insane the amount of technology, and I'm excited to see what happens in the future too. Because you're kind of sitting here, you're looking at like I'm sitting here looking at my bow right now. I'm like, all right, how do you make that better?
Yeah.
Like I don't know. That's not my job though. There's a reason it's not my job.
Yeah. My bow is well, the one I hunt with now is what 23, 20, almost 24 years old.
Oh, okay.
And I've got another one that's not quite so old, and another one's a little bit newer. But um, I have one for hunting and one for target shooting, and then I have
Yep.
another one that when I worked at Cabela's, we were the only store that had technicians that knew enough what was going on, so all the returns to come back to us
Yep.
all over the Cabela's. They'd put them in great big 4 foot square shipping containers, boxes, and ship them all to us. And we'd pull them
Oh,
out, and we'd take all the parts. We got 2, 3 bows, identical ones. Each got different parts. We'd make good ones out of them, and then put them on our used bow rack. And we had a bunch of the low end bows that were just couldn't really do much with them. So
yeah.
we actually took and cut them down so it's just the grip, and then where the sight goes on, just above the sight, and then where the stalar goes, we screwed a bar in there and we hooked it on. And we put sights on them, so
Oh, okay.
you could pick up the grip and look at the sight. You could
Yep.
actually hold it and see what it looked like, and that was kind of nice. And that's been oh geez, probably 8 years ago now, and they still have them there.
Yep. I was about to say, I know I was just thinking about that when you said that at the Total Archery Challenges. I've seen that at the was it the Trophy Ridge booth? They have it. They have like some bare bow risers that they put the sights on so you can pick it up, feel the grip, see it.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool. I'm like, that's a pretty unique idea.
Well, otherwise you want to see what it looks like. You look at the package, you really can't tell, and then you take it out of the package, you put it on, you hold it up, and you put it on a
Yeah, you're
bow, and
you're sitting there, the old fashioned hold it up, look at it, you're like, okay. And you don't really get to see what it's gonna look like.
yeah, when you get them actually on a bow riser, that really makes a difference,
Yep.
and you get still got to try them out, and that's the
Oh
best way to
yeah.
try out a sight is to figure that. Now rest, that's a little bit different story because there's really, what are you gonna do with the rest? You
Yeah.
got to have an arrow on it, and you got to shoot it,
Yep.
and stuff like that. So, yeah, that makes a little bit of difference, but
Yeah.
uh, just you when you're starting out, you just got to find the biggest thing I tell new archers is, well, one, you need to know what your dominant eye is because you need to shoot that
Hmm.
dominant eye, and then what do you want to do with it?
Yep.
Do you want to just fling arrows in the back and you don't care, you just want to have fun? Well, get a recurve because they're simple. You string
Yep.
them, unstring them. That's basically it. And you
Yeah.
shoot off the shelf and you're done. But if you want to do a little bit more, if you want to hunt, well, now then we need to get into a little bit different.
Yep.
Start off with compounds because they're quicker and easier to learn than trad bows
Yep.
because they take a little bit more skill learning them.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Tradbo's a different beast.
oh yeah,
There's no
I've
doubt
got
about that. Yeah. I mean, I have several buddies who that's all they hunt with is Tradbos, and I'm like, hats off to you, like
right,
because I mean I play around with them. I can shoot pretty good, but I like to kill stuff, and I don't like to let stuff walk. Like
right.
if I want to shoot that deer, and like I'm super confident and proficient with a bow, if it's inside of 60 yards and it gives me a shot, it's game over. Like, there's no second guessing. As soon as I get that shot opportunity, unless I know for a fact he is coming right at me, I'm shooting that deer as soon as it gets inside that range.
But now, how do you prepare to be able to confidently have a 60-yard shot that you're comfortable with? Because most archers that get out there, 15 yards is their max because they're not grouping good. They can't judge yardage, and
Yeah.
20 yards is too far. I've seen some that can't even hold 8-inch groups at 20 yards.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just put a lot of arrows through my bow and it's repetition. Same thing every single time. And I guarantee. I'm just trying to figure out how many. I'm trying to remember last year. through the whole course of from the time I set my bow up, my hunting bow up, which was like February, from the time until deer season, I guarantee I put 30,000 arrows through that bow at least. At least 30,000 arrows through that bow over the course of a summer. Now I try to shoot every single night I can. Even if I go out and I can only shoot 3 arrows, just a couple shots, and I have some 3D targets set up in my backyard. I can step right out my back door and shoot targets, which is nice. I know not everyone can do that, but
Right.
I even if you're shooting at 10 yards, 10 feet, like just putting reps through your bow and doing the same thing every single time. I think is the biggest thing to help you become more accurate. And then the confidence. Look, you just got to kill a bunch of stuff to get confident. Like
Right.
that's all it is. That's all it is. And I learned that. So when I was 9 and 10, it was the first 2 years I hunted with a compound. I didn't kill anything. I missed a lot of stuff because I just didn't have that confidence. And, shooting out of a tree stand's a little different than shooting on flat ground.
Yep.
I couldn't figure out the bend at the waist, not just, move this up here. I didn't figure that out at first. And it took me a while to figure that out. And then when I was 11 is when I shot my first deer with a compound. It just happened to be a buck on the first day of archery season. And then from there, it was just like everything clicked and confidence has been riding high ever since. And there's been times I've missed deer in there, made bad shots. Yeah, I lost a deer or two here and there. That's bow hunting. It's going to happen.
Right.
If you have never injured a deer or missed a deer or whatever, made a bad shot when hunting, you haven't been hunting long enough because it's going to happen to everyone at some point or another. It happens to the best archers in the world. You look at a guy like Levi Morgan, it happens to him. It happens to everyone. If you bow hunt, it's going to happen. And you just have to figure out a way to take that on the chin and kind of not so much move on, but yeah, you got to move on from it.
Yeah, you got to not worry about that last shot. Just think about the next one, and that's the hard part because a lot of mental things you have to worry about. It's a mental game as much as skills.
Yes, a couple years ago on the last day of archery season, I think it was like 2021-22 season. That year just absolutely kicked my butt overall. I harvested a mule deer that year, which was like, I was like, awesome. My season is made already, but really it wasn't. I wanted to get a PA buck down bad. I had several absolute studs I was after. Could not get it done. Last day of late season, I hit a buck low. And I clipped a limb and I just grazed like right in his armpit is all I got. I tracked him and we had a foot of snow. And we tracked him forever, lost blood. And after that day, I legitimately felt like quitting. I was so sick for the next probably 2-3 weeks. I'm like, I don't know, and it was just like the all-time confidence was at a high that year. I just hadn't got an opportunity. I'm like, but I know if I get my opportunity, I'm going to make it count. And then it didn't happen. And, I have no doubt. I don't hit that limb. I put it, top of his heart, double lung. I'm sitting here, and this is a totally different story. But after that year was when I was after that month, 3 weeks to a month, I was really down on myself. I'm like, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. I'm like, because I was just so sick to my stomach. And I kind of worked my way out of that funk. My buddies, my one buddy specifically, he was like, you can't quit now. He's like, you can't quit now. This is you. I was like, yeah. So that next summer, I tell you what, I busted my butt to make sure that did not happen again. And every year since then, that's in the back of my mind. I'm like, man, I don't feel like going out and shooting today. And there's some days I don't, but then there's other days I'm like, nah, go out there and just shoot a couple arrows. You don't want to feel that feeling again, which,
Right.
It'll happen at some point. It's bound to, but it just, that's that little motivation that I find on my end to just keep pushing. And like I said, I mean, I was to the point I was done. I'm like I don't know what to do. Like, I was heartbroken. I mean, at that point, I mean, I don't know if he would have been my biggest buck, but he was right there with my biggest buck to date. So, like, I mean, he one of those that could have went either way. He could have been bigger, could have been a little bit smaller, I don't know. But he was, and it was, a plan came together perfectly. Last day of season, I'm like, here we go. Here it is in the snow. I was like, this is awesome. And then it didn't come together. And I'm like, man, just the white hunting is the ultimate humbler, I guess you could say. It keeps you honest.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. When you think you got it figured out, just wait a minute, because you don't.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, there's always factors that you haven't considered, and
Uh-huh.
new factor. Maybe you're drawing back on the deer, and something else comes running through and distracts your attention, and about time you shoot. Or the sun's behind a cloud, and the cloud goes away, and all of a sudden the sun's in your eyes.
Yep.
And then you can't see anything, and there's all kinds of things that can happen, and all of a sudden the deer is walking, stops. Kill zone's covered by a tree.
Yep.
And I had a friend of mine who was telling me he was out hunting and this deer was walking down the trail. There's the opening where he could shoot. The deer stops right before the opening.
Mm-hmm.
Stands there for a little bit, runs just through the opening, and starts walking again.
I had that same thing happen this year. Same thing happened. November 1st. I'll never forget this. I hung this set on the 31st because this year in Pennsylvania it was super warm, the 31st. I didn't even want to go out that night, but my brother killed a buck that morning. And I'm like, you know what? He's like, they were on it. He was like, he came in following a doe. Shortly after that doe went through, he came on the same trail. I was like, all right. And he saw two shooters that morning. He actually heard them fighting. He shot the first one that came through, and then the other one came through about 15 minutes after, both on that same doe. And I was like, you know what? I need to go back in there. I'm like, I know there's good bucks back in there. It's a spot I hadn't hunted because I had all my focus shifted on another buck. I had a buck, he scored he was an 8-point, and he was like 150s, low 150s 8-point. This year I was after. And he blew up from last year. And I'm like, that's the buck I'm going after. And then he got shot last week of October. So I had to completely reshift, find a different deer. And I'm like, man, I don't know. And then at that point, I'm like, you know what? Because at that point in the season, I'm like, it is him or nothing. I'm like, I am hunting this deer. There's not many opportunities you get at a buck of this caliber in Pennsylvania, especially as an 8-point. I'm like, it just doesn't happen. A mid 150s 8-point. It's anywhere in the country really, but especially the mountain buck in Pennsylvania. And so I was at that point, I was like, all right, we're just gonna go have some fun. We're gonna enjoy November, and we're gonna kill a mature buck. I'm like, that is the goal. That's all we're looking for. I hung that set, and I saw some deer that night, last half hour. I was like, all right, we're going to slide right back in here in the morning. I slid back in the morning, and right at first light, I look over my shoulder, and there's one of the shooters standing in my opening at 40 yards. And at that point, he's standing in the middle of the opening broadside. Panic sets in, obviously. You're like, oh, crap, how am I going to get – because I had to spin completely around, try to get a shot, and I'm like, dang it. So he starts working this edge out, and so I was like, crap. So I just grabbed my grunt call, and I just very discreetly just blew softly into it twice, and it got his attention. And I hit that third time. He 90'd, and he was coming. I'm like, here we go. And I knew what buck it was. He had these real long G3s that curled up and in. So I knew right away what buck it was as soon as I saw him. He's coming. So I get everything ready with filming myself, and I go to full draw in the first hole, and he runs through the first hole. I'm like, crap. So I kind of reach down and I bump the camera with my elbow into the second hole. Go to full draw, anchor again. He's walking. I'm like, all right, I need like 3 steps. On that second step, he started trotting through the hole again. I'm like, crap. So I let down. I had to shift the camera over. I reset my sight, go to full draw again. And in between each hole, like I'm waiting. Like I'm at full draw for a couple seconds. He hits that last hole right before I could stop him. Pew, bolts through the hole again, down over the hill, and I'm gone forever. Never saw him again. I got a couple more pictures of him, and then that was it. I have no clue what happened to him. But I was like, I was sitting there kicking myself because it's not very often I have a buck come in that gets away like that. Like that doesn't happen to me very often. And I was like, man, like was that the opportunity? Like was that the one opportunity I'm going to have this year in Pennsylvania? And I'm just like, man, you've got to be kidding me. And that's just one of those things like just wasn't meant to be. Bottom line, I don't know. Maybe I'll catch up with him this year. I don't know. But I was just like, man, that one really hurt. That having a mature buck like that sneak through. And same sort of thing like you said there. Just would walk and then trot. And I'm like, come on. And I'm seeing this happen through 3 holes already. You would think by the 4th hole, I was ready. And I'm like, there ain't no way he's going to trot. I mean, this hole was huge. This last hole was big. I'm like, he ain't going to trot through that whole hole. Sure enough, trots through the whole hole. And I didn't even have a chance to try to stop him. I just could not believe it. Could not believe it.
Yeah, for him, to do it once is kind of weird, but to do it on 3, or actually 4 different shooting
Yeah, he did it in 4 holes. Yep.
4 different holes, and it's like he knew you were there.
Sometimes they know.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how they can sense stuff like that, and
yeah.
Then other times they're just oblivious to everything.
Yeah, and then like the buck I shot him on November 9th. I shot him. I was grunting and snort wheezing at this other buck. He was up there with a couple does. I grunted. He came up over the hill. He snort wheezed, and I was like, oh, it's game on at this point. So I grunted to him again, then I snort wheeze. You could tell he, got all bristled up, ticked off, and I'm like, oh, we're about to kill this buck. And he was a good buck, a good 3-year-old. And at that point, I was like, you know what? If he puts on a show and comes in, I'm going to whack him. Right. He's a nice buck. And my dad shot a buck that morning on a different stand, and I was like, if this buck reads the script and comes in, I'm going to kill him. And all of a sudden, I look down in the bottom, and coming up from the bottom is the buck I shot, 4-year-old 8-point. I guess he was a 9-point. He has in between his G2 and G3, he's got like a little 2-inch point, like a little extra. I was like, I had no clue he had that. I just look up, I see a good frame coming, and he's big body deer, and I'm like, all right, here we go. He comes in, but like you said, oblivious, walks right in. 38 yards, I shot him. Just he had no clue I was in the world, which is exactly how you want it.
Right.
But like it's just so crazy that even calling him in, I figured he was going to be on edge. He wasn't. He barely ducked the arrow at all when I shot him, and like I had to stop him. Get him to stop. Shot. He didn't move. And it's just crazy that how situational deer are. Some deer are on edge all the time. Other deers, there's times where they throw caution to the wind and you could get away with straight murder on some deer. And other deer, you can't get away with anything.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. And even in the same area.
Yeah. Oh, I've had it happen in the same morning. Like I've had 2 deer come through from the same direction within a half hour of each other. And the one, he was just a little basket rack 8-point. My buddy was filming. I shot a buck in New York. I guess it would have been Saturday, but I found him Sunday. because I hit him just a little bit back, and it started raining. I couldn't find blood. Oh, I didn't hit him back, but it was just the angle. He was way harder quartering two than I thought he was. Just how he came in, snuck over my shoulders like, I don't know, 14 yards when I shot him. But I didn't realize how steep quartering two he was. And he didn't go that far, but just with the pouring down rain, I can't see 10 feet in front of me to begin with. And then there's no blood anyway. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, I have no clue. And I'm like, there's no way I can cover this whole area myself. So I had to go home next night because I had to work that next day. And I'm sitting there at work, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, I got a dead buck. I'm like, I know for a fact he's dead. And he's laying there, and I can't do anything about it. I had to get off work. I called my buddy. Luckily, two of my buddies, they met me. We went up. We found him in 10, 15 minutes. Like, it wasn't hard at all, but it was just like the stress of all day. He was dead for like 30 hours. It was 30 hours since I shot him when we found him. I was sick to my stomach it was a 2.5 hour drive home from the night I shot him, 2.5 hour drive back up there. And then, obviously the ride back home was way easier.
Yeah.
once we found him. But that next morning, we drove straight back home. We got like an hour and a half of sleep, my buddy and I. We were back in a stand. We had a buck come through. That buck looked up, and I know for a fact that buck saw us up there. Like, he picked us off 100%. He's standing there at 20 yards staring at us. And I'm like, we're screwed, dude. That buck just kept on walking right by. I'm like, how? Like, how did we get away with that? He didn't even care. Then, like, a half hour, 45 minutes later, we have a big shooter come off the hill. I go to full draw when this buck is behind pine trees. There's a bunch of these little low pines for like 10 yards. And as soon as he clears these pines, I can shoot him. He's in my hole at like 35 yards. He goes behind those pine trees. I go to full draw, and I hit anchor, and I'm just waiting for him to step out on the other side. I whispered to my buddy, I'm like, hey, you on him? He's like, as soon as he hits that hole, I'm ready. I was like, all right, here we go. That buck stops right at the edge of the hole, sticks his head out around, and is locked on us. I don't know what he saw, how he saw us. But again, one of those things, they got that sense. He wheeled around, took off out of there, never saw him again that season. To this day, I'm still baffled about that deer because I cannot figure out what he saw because he was coming in on a beeline. Our wind was good. Everything was good. Just, they know sometimes. It wasn't his day. It just wasn't his day, I guess.
I know I had one of the guys on the podcast, WTF Camo Whitetail Forensics, and he's got a completely different camo pattern. He says he's had guys stand out there and the deer could just look at him and can't figure out what he is. It's a completely different style of camo. You have to go back and watch that one. It's been a couple of sessions ago.
I'll check that out.
Yeah, and it's a completely different pattern for the camo, and it, when you're wearing it, the pictures they're standing right in front of the tree and you can't hardly see them. So that's something that might get a hold of him and try and see if the camo might make a difference. And I don't know if I can find it or not here, but what is it? Oh yeah, podcast number 212.
Okay.
Tim Minich of Whitetail Forensics, and
okay.
and that's something you might want to look at. I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah.
So
I'll definitely look into it at least and check it out and see. Because I'm kind of, there is some things I'm stuck in my ways about, and that is my camo patterns. I'm a big proponent of the mossy oak bottomlands and the Realtree tree bark. Those are like my go-to camo patterns.
Realtree tree bark is an old pattern.
Yeah, whatever it is, the old style, whatever the original, like with the browns. I guess I got like my hoodie here, like that type pattern.
Yeah.
Like that's, I'm stuck in my ways about about several things, and camo pattern is one of them.
Yeah. You'll have to actually check it out. I might be able to kind of bring it up and take a look at it while we're talking about. Oh, yeah, let me go ahead and share it, and you can see, find my share button. And you can kind of see, here's the guy right here.
Yeah.
And it just kind of really breaks it up really good.
Huh.
It's a complete different pattern. Let me see if I can. Yeah, there's the
Yeah,
pattern.
that's okay. All right. I've seen this before. I have seen this. I forget where I saw it, but I saw it somewhere.
Yeah, he's just started out, and that's a pretty cool looking camel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely
and
different.
yeah, and try it out and see, and if it does, hey, you can let us
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah, might have found a little hidden gem.
Yeah. That's what we like to do is like if we find good stuff,
Yeah.
promote it and that
Yeah.
just looked like to me it was really cool. And some of the pictures, I was trying to look at them and I forget which one it was and I was like I can't see the guy.
Yeah.
I can see his bow because it wasn't
Yeah.
that camo pattern. I can see him.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's all kinds of stuff out there, and that's one of the things that I do is I get on manufacturers and whatnot, and get them on the podcast and talk about their stuff and promote them, and
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Heck yeah.
we're all learning,
Yeah.
and that the only thing things change and try them. If you don't like them, then don't use them.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always normally trying something different every year. You know, kind of with my bow setup, it hasn't been much different, except normally every year I try some different broadheads and stuff. This year I will be trying several different, probably two companies is probably what I'm going to run for the most part. The last couple years I've ran the Levi Morgan Swackers,
Oh yeah.
and I had great success with those. I have zero issues with them. Every deer I've shot, I've pretty much watched drop or not very. I've had at least great blood trails up to it. I had, the only problem I ever had, and it wasn't even a problem. I think it was a self-inflicted problem. Was on my Ohio buck this year. He was one of those, he wouldn't die. He had so much adrenaline. I think we just kept bumping him. He just kept staying 100 yards out ahead of us the whole time, and we were pretty much just following him. I mean, we gave him. He came in on a doe with 5 other bucks. There was 6 bucks on this one doe. He came running in. I shot him at like 22, 23, 24 yards, something like that. I didn't range it. I just put my top pin. I just put my pin right on him and let it fly. Went through my shot process, let the arrow fly. And from what I saw, it hit him perfect. I mean, he was slightly quartered away. I hit him about that far behind the front shoulder, and it didn't get a pass through, so I knew it hit that offside shoulder.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, with my setups, I'm pulling. Last year, I was shooting 75 pounds with a 465 grain arrow.
That's
Like I
a lot of weight, a lot
I
of
never
speed.
had. Yeah, and at 30.5 inch draw. So I was
Oh yeah.
shooting 310 foot a second. I think is what I was shooting last year, right about. So, and I mean, I just know that setup. I had to. I'm like, dude, and we're sitting there after we backed out. I'm like, dude, I know for a fact I had to have hit that offside shoulder. Like, there's just no way I wouldn't have blown through him if I didn't hit that offside shoulder.
Right.
Well, come to find out, we tracked him, we found him, and come to find out, when I hit him just a little bit because it was such a steep angle from that tree, and neither of us realized it. I hit him just below mid body. So I hit him right where I was aiming, but it exited out like right before his armpit, and it stuck into his offside leg.
Oh, that's what stopped it.
Yeah. So come to find out, he was a lot steeper than I thought he was. So I mean, no I mean, that broadhead opened him up. We had a walking blood trail the entire way. There was only like one or two spots we had to stop and look for blood, and that's just because he hung like a hard left or a hard right or something like that. Like he never clotted up. There was always blood the entire way.
Well, as he's moving that arrow around, and nothing's
Yeah.
gonna heal up.
Yep. And I don't know if I ever did find the bat. I found the whole arrow. So I guess what happened was I found the broadhead part because it hit that leg, and when he mule kicked, I saw the arrow snap. And right where I hit him, I found the broadhead half, and then about 10 steps later, I found the fletching, the back half of the arrow. So I mean, I had the whole arrow there, but just where that was, and those blades are super sharp. I mean, he was constantly bleeding. I'm like, there's no way this buck can be alive. One, because I saw right where I hit him. And two, I'm like, the amount of blood he's losing, there's just no way it's possible for this deer to be alive. And when I gutted him, there was like no blood on the inside of him. It was one of the few deer I've gutted that there's been zero blood on the inside of.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good.
I barely had any blood on my hands to wash off after. It was ridiculous. I'm like, he truly did dump every ounce of blood.
They don't run very far without blood in their system.
No. It was crazy just how far he went. And I do think it was because he had some adrenaline, and we gave him a half hour from the time I shot him to the time we started tracking him. I think we we were just right behind him.
Right, didn't leave long enough.
Just out of sight the whole time. And, I mean, it happens.
I know I shot one time, and it's, kind of towards the evening I shot it, and it was coming down. It was kind of walking a little fairly fast, and I ended up hitting it too far back, basically a gut shot. And I waited for, probably 3 hours. My buddy showed up. We started tracking about 30 yards down. A deer gets up and runs off. So we go over and look and see where the blood trail was at, and it's laying down in pool of blood. So we walked out. Didn't want to leave him because we're supposed to get like 3 or 4 inches of snow that night.
Oh, of course.
And of course, I had to work. So we come back the next night in the dark, and I'm telling Randy and his son, also Randy, I says, we're looking for a lump with snow on it.
Yep. Well, that's how my New York buck was. When we went back up there, we had 2.5 inches of snow. So when we went up there, I'm like, hey, anything that looks like a deer that could be covered in snow, like go check it out. I'm like, I ain't taking any chances.
Right. Yeah, and I found it, and it was covered with snow, and and it got really cold down there. It was way below freezing. And I got there, the extremities were froze, but the body was still warm.
Yep, mine was pretty solid when I found it, to say the least. When I found mine that couple, like 30 hours later or whatever the heck I said.
Yeah. Well, and that's because it was a gut shot, and there wasn't, it took a while from the die, and if we'd have got up and started chasing it again, it'd have got up and run some more and run some more and run some more, because it had kept going. Yep. And the best thing to do is you make a bad shot is identify where they're at and then go away, come back at least the next night. And the next night it was still warm, so it hadn't been dead that long because it was well below freezing, and it should have froze.
You always have those, you're like, man, and you just don't know what to do with it. And it's just, I've always found it better to err on the side of caution.
Right.
I mean, I've seen deer, like, for instance, my dad's this year, it took a half step when he shot it, and he hit it center of the liver. That deer went 45 yards and tipped over. Like, within 5 minutes. Within not even 5 minutes. Like, he said probably 2 or 3 minutes. That buck was dead. He watched the whole thing go down. It happened within 100 yards of him. The buck ran, no joke, like 45 yards. So it happened within 80 yards of him. The buck's just standing there, like looking around, twitching his tail. And he could tell, he could see the entrance hole. And you can see blood coming out of the entrance hole. And he's like, he texted me, he goes, "Oh, I just hit that nice 10 point." And I was like, "Oh, really?" I was like, "Where'd you hit him?" He goes, "Just a little bit back, but I'm like watching him right now." I was like, "Okay." I was saying, "What does he look like?" And then he sent me a text. He goes, "Well, he just fell over." And right there he was. And I'm like, and I had an instance this year where I shot a buck up in New York. I killed 3 bucks in 3 states this year with a bow. And I shot a buck up in New York public land, which is all I hunt up there. I normally don't run trail cameras up there. I just kind of go have fun and hunt.
Right.
And just as raw as it can get, using woodsmanship, just everything, kind of taking a step back. I just like to do that every once in a while. I feel like it keeps my my senses, I guess, sharp. So if I go into a new area here in Pennsylvania or Ohio or West Virginia, or this year I'm planning on going and hunting Illinois, like if I go look at a spot, I can just go into it and I know what I'm looking for. So that's what I kind of like about New York. I just do that up there. There's no antler restriction up there. So it's kind of just a meat run. You can shoot whatever you feel like shooting. And but this year I was like, last year, or I guess 2023, I shot 2 little bucks up there, 2 yearlings. I didn't have a ton of time to hunt up there. So I was like, all right, the year before I shot a nice 6 point, like a 14-inch 6 point, and then I shot a buck with an inline on the last day of season. It was like a 4.5, 5-inch spike. I was like, last day, don't care. I was gonna shoot a doe, and then all of a sudden he walked out. I was like, well, it's a buck tag, so I might as well shoot the buck standing here in front of me. And I never shot a buck with an inline at that point, so I was like, yeah, this would be pretty cool. And I shot him. So, but this year I was like, I'm looking for something nice. Like I want to shoot a nice 2-year-old was my goal. Because up there, I mean, the average buck I don't even think is 2 years old. At least that I've seen shot up there. Most of them are little, your basket racks like this, and there's not, at least that area I hunt, it doesn't seem like a bunch of residents hunt. It's mostly non-residents hunting it. So you have guys from West Virginia, New Jersey, New Hampshire, Maine. I've seen a bunch of different states there. Ohio, Pennsylvania, obviously. I mean, I've seen all the surrounding states. I've seen license plates of trucks in parking lots. So, I mean, I've seen them all. I don't know why my phone is not charging. There we go. Maybe. On.
Yeah, if your phone's not charging, can't talk too long, can you?
Yeah. Should be good. Uh-oh. Yeah, I'm trying to get this squared away. How about now? That's weird. My block is, I think, junked.
Yeah, I know one time it was snow on the ground and this deer come by and I shot and it ran about 20 yards and I heard it crash. And then when I got down, the footprints in the snow, because there wasn't any other footprints in
There
the
we
snow
go.
where it come running by,
We're good to go.
and but the blood trail was about 2 or 3 feet to the side. So the
Just
blood trail wasn't
spraying that
even close.
much.
Yeah. And
Huh.
it went 20 yards and it died and
Huh.
within 20 yards.
I shot the one buck I shot up in New York was like that. It was November 1st, 2023. My buddy, he came back from the army. He's in the army. So he's my best friend. We don't get to see each other a ton. But when we do, he lines up his coming home time during hunting season. So
Oh,
we
yeah.
always make it a point to hunt together. First sit that year, he killed a buck in PA. He was just looking for anything legal. We had this cool looking 5-point came through. He passed him in the morning, and he's sitting there. He's like, and it was me, my other buddy, and him all in the same tree. So it was cool, all three of us in tree, and me and my other buddy, we're razzing him the rest of the morning. We're like, why didn't you, like, we had him at 15 yards. He's
Yeah.
like, I was just looking for something legal, and we're like mocking him and stuff. And sure enough, that evening, that buck is coming back through on this group of does, and he was going to shoot one of the does. And I was like, man, they are just acting so spooky. I'm like, there's a buck around here somewhere. It's end of October. I'm like, there's a buck around here somewhere. Sure enough, that buck, I look up and that buck's coming up over the hill. I was like, dude, it's him. He goes, I'm going to shoot him this time. That buck came through. He shot him at 30 yards. Perfect shot. Shot him. The buck ran over, fell within 35 yards of us. So I was like, all right. So I had some time off work and stuff. And I was like, well, let's go up to New York. I was like, I already got my PA tag punched. And it was October 31st. I went up to New York. I hunted solo. Didn't see much that day, but it was starting to snow that evening. I was like, all right, tomorrow morning's the morning. I'm like, one is November 1st. Like, that's always a good day to be in the timber.
Right.
I'm like, there's never a bad place to be on November 1st, except somewhere else besides the deer woods.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's November 1st. There's going to be a blanket of snow up there. I'm like, it's just going to be a good morning. I'm like, and we're going back to one of my favorite spots. So I was like, he's like, all right, I'll come film. I was like, okay, sweet. So we drive up and we get on stand and we hung the first spot and we didn't like it. Right off the rip, we had does get downwind of us, start blowing. I'm like, dude, they're going to be doing that all freaking day. That's the route they're going to come. So I was like, well, we're screwed. I was like, we might as well just move spots. I'm like, because it ain't going to do us any good sitting here. Because the wind was different than what it was forecasting. So I was like, all right. So we climbed down, we moved spots. It's like 9 o'clock. We get set back up. Right after we get set up, I'm like, I'm just going to hit the horns together, just cover any, noise we might have made getting set up, I hit the horns together. I no sooner turned around, put the horns back in my bag, and I hear him go, there's a deer right there. And I look back, and I can see it stepping out on the other side of the trees, and it's a buck. I can just see antlers. There's not much, but I'm like, I can see antlers. I get the butt, I grunt, bleed, and then I grunt again. He turns in 90s, and he's coming right up this little walking trail. And I'm like, dude, it's a big spike. He's got foot-long spikes. And I'm like,
big ones.
Yeah, and I'm like, he's like, what is it? I'm like, dude, it's a mega spike. He's like, you better be shooting. He goes, you're shooting them, right? And I go, yeah, I'm gonna shoot him. I'm like, just the whole everything. That buck comes right in. I shot that buck at like 34 yards, right through the heart. I mean, I took his heart out. He took like 4 big leaps. And he's standing there, and you just see him just slowly start to do the wobble, and then just boom. Down he went it was 18 yards from where I shot him to where he fell. That hunt's actually on video. It's on my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is Time Droppers Outdoors. All one word, I think. That hunt is on there. I have to get this year's hunts all on there. I've been a little lazy. Work's been busy trying to get stuff edited and put out. But yeah, all 3 of my bucks last year are on it. 2 New York bucks and a PA buck. All those are up there. There's a mule deer hunt on there. My buddy's PA hunt's on there. I think that's all it's up right now. But like I said, I have 3 more hunts to get up this year. 4, actually, because one of my buddy's hunts. Time droppers is something we came up with when we were in high school. Sitting in our economics class. We were sitting there and we already, we just liked filming our own stuff, because you can look back on it and, we're like, I've always filmed my stuff for a long time. And one day we're like, why don't we just start a YouTube channel? Like, I'm like, I already have a hunt already. I just need to edit it up. I had my mule deer hunt from that year ready to go. And I'm like, why don't we just start a YouTube channel? So then we did. We came up with the name. It's like a group of all my best friends. We're all big into archery hunting. And, we kill a lot of big stuff. This year, not so much, but in the past years, we've killed a lot of big stuff.
Is that Time Droppers outdoors?
Yes.
Is okay, because I have that one. I just
Yeah,
thought
it
I'd
should be
just
a logo of like a buck, like a white background with a black deer and red lettering. I think
right.
is the logo right now.
Yeah. Oh, we're talking about it. Let's just promote your YouTube channel. There we go.
Yep.
That's it, right?
Yes, sir. So the if you go up to the top row,
Yeah.
the third video is
This one?
that New York hunt I just said about.
Oh, okay. Let's
I think I forgot that actually starts. My buddy shot a doe up there. That's how we started the whole. That was the first weekend he went up there. He killed a doe. His first ever out of state deer. Actually, I shot a doe out of that same stand this year.
oh, I muted it so we didn't have to listen to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of about midway through is when that hunt that I shot my buck starts. Yeah,
Right
somewhere
about here.
right about there.
I drug Patrick up here to New York with me to film. We're gonna see what happens. We just got all set up and then we bumped, I think, one, maybe two deer getting in here. I think it was a button buck anyway. It was all by itself. So, we'll see what happens. It's 7:40 right now, so it's like just to a point where we can get good video light and everything. So.
And I like doing it pretty raw. Like there's no, at least as of right now, there's no like super fancy edits and stuff. Just pretty basic stuff. Yeah, like I mean it's pretty raw. It's how it happened.
Yeah, that's kind of when I on my YouTube channel, the podcasts, I just upload them.
Yep.
If we got mistakes in them, the only time I've
well.
edited them is actually when I hit stop in the middle of it instead of something else, and I had
Yeah.
to merge them together.
Yeah.
Now,
So
my other videos, I do a whole bunch of editing on them, but
yeah, right here's where this buck comes in. Yeah, right there. Yeah, he's coming in at that point. Right about there is when I decide, you know what, I'm gonna shoot him.
you
With
just
and
barely see them there.
Yeah, my buddy and I in the tree, we are very bad influences on each other when it comes to shooting deer. We're both very trigger happy at times. So it doesn't take much convincing for one of us to shoot a deer if the other one wants it to be shot. Which isn't a bad thing at all, you know.
No. Good hit.
Yeah, I mean it was perfect, right over the shoulder. The buck actually died right behind those trees. Of course, right off camera.
Yeah, of course.
You
He
can
didn't
kind of,
play right.
I think you can kind of see him on the left edge of that tree right there when he crashes. Maybe. I don't know. It's been a while since I've watched this clip. I can't really tell. But it was just raw excitement and emotion in that tree that day.
You're not
One of my
excited at all, are you?
one of my favorite hunts to date, just because of the whole situation. We don't get to spend much time together, but when we do, we try to make it count. And him and I have hunted, so he's been behind the camera on several like long hunts and stuff where we've been sitting all day, long seasons. He sat with me for like I think 12 straight days. Like we did like 8 all day sits. Like him and I have hunted our butts off together, and we just never can get it to pan out. Normally, like I'll shoot something as soon as he has to do something or something like that. So it was cool. We finally got to kill one together. But yeah, the tree we were in was very not ideal. How we pulled it off, I don't know. But yeah, we pulled that off. Like I said, the buck is laying right there. I mean, he went 18, 20 yards. And
Makes
it's
it nice
always,
recovery, doesn't it?
oh, yeah. Yeah.
Should
Yeah.
be
It's
getting
always,
up here pretty soon to
yeah. I mean, we call him
let's get
a New York 11 point. I mean,
the
he was actually pretty cool. He had a brow tine and had a big kicker off the base. So he was actually a pretty cool deer. He wasn't just your ordinary spike.
yeah.
Yeah, but I mean but this year I killed a really nice buck up there, actually. And that's kind of where I was going before I got on the tangent. But yeah, I killed a really nice buck, 120-inch 10 point up there. We aged him at 5.5 years old.
Yeah.
Just a brute. And for up there with no antler restriction on public, on a pretty, I mean, I think it's for up there from what I've seen, it's pretty heavily hunted. Now, compared to down here in Pennsylvania, it's nothing. But from what I've seen up there, it's pretty heavily hunted come gun season.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I mean, they just don't have near the hunters we do down here. I mean, down here, it would be nothing to see that many trucks that I saw on that whole property at one parking lot, like on the first day of gun season. But yeah, that area just, you don't see, you get them to, if a buck makes 100 inches up there, like it's a stud. Like just, and I'm not going up there to kill giant bucks. But it's nice when you shoot a good one. And I had no clue how good that buck was that I shot until I got up to him. I just saw he was out to his ears. I thought he was just a 16-inch 8 point. I was like, that's big enough for me. I shot him, and I walked up on him, and my buddy who lives right there on the New York line, he was like, dude, it's a freaking stud. I'm like, yeah, I know. I had no clue how big that deer was until I walked up to him.
Yeah.
That hunt will be coming out on YouTube here soon. I got it pretty much all edited up. I just need to find the right music to kind of tie it all together. Same thing with my PA hunt. I need to tie it all together. And I haven't started my Ohio buck yet, but we'll get to it here at some point.
Yeah, I know there's a little bit to edit them. When you're editing, people don't realize if you have an hour's worth of video, you might
Yeah.
take an hour and a half to 2 hours to edit it.
Oh, yeah.
Because if it's an hour worth of video, you have to watch the whole thing. And then
Yep.
plus you got to figure out what I want to cut out and then cut this out. And then you got to rewatch part of it to make sure it's
Yep.
there. If you're going to put transitions in, if you want to
Yep.
have,
And then you
like,
got to
whatever the video.
you don't want to have it an hour long because then people lose interest.
Right.
There's very few people that can post something that's an hour and a half, 2 hours long on YouTube, and people are going to watch it the whole way through. There's
Right.
very few people that can do it. Like Seek One is one that I can think of right off the top of my head, just because they just posted one this year that was 2 hours long. They can get away with doing that. There's a couple others I can't. Probably like the juries could get away with it. Some of the bigger names in the industry can get away with
Right.
doing it. Us
'Cause they're
small
watching
YouTube
because-
channels, we can't do that.
Right.
We got to keep it, and I try to keep everything under 20 minutes is my goal. Some go a little longer, and some deer, if I got a story with a deer, like I have several storybooks open with deer every year. And I have history, trail cameras, encounters, whatever from the year before. I'm going to tie that all together because I feel like that deer deserves that, to have that whole story play out. And if I, this year, I don't know exactly how I'm going to tie my whole PA hunt together. I don't really want to do a 2-part just because I don't like doing that, but I might have to because I got a lot of footage from this year, and we'll see. We'll see how it all pans out because, I don't want to skip out on anything for that night I shot my buck because that was such a cool hunt, how it all laid out in front of me. It was 10 minutes of video of him, between him and that other buck coming in. It was 10 minutes of video. Well, I mean, if you're making a 20-minute episode, that's half the episode right there.
Right.
Plus five-ish minutes of recovery and everything. Well, right there's a whole dang episode itself. So, like, I got to kind of try to figure out how I want to do that. And, yeah, not sure how I'm going to do that yet. I also haven't had the time to really work on it, how I want to.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm getting videos out that there's one of my recorded last November.
Yeah.
And it's like with everything going on, it's like, and I completely forgot about that I hadn't put it out. I'm looking, it's like, oh, I didn't even put that one out yet.
Yeah,
so
I got it.
Put it out.
I got my turkey hunt last year. I never put it out. And like turkey hunts are one of those things, if I get them on footage, cool. If not, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
Most of the time when I'm turkey hunting, I don't even take a camera. That's just my time because self-filming a turkey hunt's really hard to begin with.
Right. Yeah.
And that's just kind of my time. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to go hunt. Like deer hunting, I don't do that. There's very few times I don't take a camera with me when I'm deer hunting. And normally it's when we're doing like flintlock drives or something like that. And even then, normally I have a camera with me, to be honest. But there is sometimes where I just like just going, not taking the camera, not having to worry about whatever. I'll just go. But I don't normally do that with deer. Normally that's turkeys when I do that.
Yeah, because the turkeys are not quite as exciting. All the stuff the turkey hunts. The exciting part is when they start coming in, and then they're starting to attack your decoy or whatever, and you shoot them and so it's a fairly
and
small.
Normally, as soon as I get a shot at them, I'm dropping them. I've learned don't mess around with them because they will go away real fast.
Right.
So normally, first shot I get, I'm shooting them. And this year, it just so happened that I shot my bird at 6 steps.
Oh.
And he flew right into my lap. Like, flew right. I had the one longbeard pitch over top of me. All the hens pitched over top of me. And this bird comes in. And I'm like, if he pitches over top of me, I'm spinning around. And whichever redhead I see first, I'm dropping. I had the camera set up on the opening where I thought he was going to land. And he landed in that opening, but by the time I shot him, he was just off frame. But he was 6 steps. Like, damn near could touch him with the barrel of my gun. Like, like it was straight. Like, it was probably the toughest shot I think I've ever had on a turkey, just because of how close it was. I mean, the wad and everything hit him at once. Like, it wasn't even out of the wad yet. Like,
yeah, at that close, it's like hitting him with a slug.
Yeah, I mean, basically. I was surprised it didn't take his head completely off, to be 100% honest. Because those birds I'm hunting are field birds. Normally I'm set up, they pitch into the edge of the field or into the field, and you either have to try to call them, or if you're lucky enough they pitch in range, you can shoot them in. But I used, this year, I traded a guy some stuff for some TSS loads. He's like, I don't even have a 12 gauge anymore. He goes, I got these. He goes, I don't use them. I'll trade you for them. I was like, all right. So I traded him a pack of broadheads for a box of TSSs, 12 gauge, 3.5 inch. And I'm like, well, that'll work great because I'm hunting these field birds. I can reach out there if I have to. And, well, obviously I didn't have to. I could have hit him with a stick. Like at that range, I could have killed him with just about anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not complaining because I said that year I wanted to shoot a turkey close. Well, I got him about as close as you could get him.
Yeah.
Not complaining by no means. That's like saying I'm complaining about shooting a deer at 10 yards. Like, no, I am not complaining. But there's a point where it's almost too close. And I'm like, if they could stay past like 15 yards, that'll be just great.
Yeah, I try to set up for 20-yard shots, but you know what? They never listen. They're always in 10, 15, 5.
Most of the birds I've killed have been about 35 to 45 yards. I would say most of them. That's just the area I hunt turkeys. They're hard, heavy, pressured turkeys. They do not like coming into a call. They do not like it at all. If they come in, they are coming in on edge, and you make one little movement, they're gone. Like and I've had other people, they're like, and 20 minutes south of me, they're like, oh, yeah, our turkeys, they're easy. I'm like, what the heck? They come up, hunt turkeys with me. They're like, what the heck is up with your turkeys? I'm like, dude, I don't know. They are just a different level of on edge. And I haven't, I truly, obviously, I'm going to say that my turkeys are the toughest to hunt when they keep repeatedly doing this year after year after year after year. I don't know how those Georgia birds are. I've never hunted turkeys out of state. Oh, I hunted turkeys in New York last year. But I don't know how those birds react, but I know from my experiences, those birds up in the Allegheny National Forest are a different level of bird. They do not, if they come in, they are on freaking edge. One thing is not right, they are getting out of there.
Well, they've been, pressured enough.
Yeah.
They're keen on it. I know
And
there's
there's
a
so many
place here
predators up there too. I mean, they
Oh,
got to
yeah.
worry about fishers, weasels, bobcats, coyotes. The list goes on and on and on. I mean,
yeah.
they're just tough birds. Every turkey you kill that I kill, it's earned. Very few are just like luck into. I mean, it's the first week I'm just chasing these birds trying to get somewhat of a pattern figured out of what they're doing.
Yeah.
Normally, every once in a while you get lucky and you run into one early. But normally I'm trying to get these birds figured out, and then like the second week of season's normally when I kill a bird or two, because I've kind of figured out, all right, this is what they're doing. And I can kind of treat it like a deer. I'm like, all right, I know they're pitching down and going this way. I'm like, all right, let's get over there and wait. And it's kind of a boring style of hunting, but you got to play the cards you're dealt, and
Right.
that's kind of how I look at it. I would love to be able to sit there and call and have them hammering constantly. And I've killed birds like that. Every once in a while, it does work like that, but normally it just doesn't for me. I don't know if I'm just not that good of a caller. I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty decent, but obviously I'm going to say that about myself. I don't know. I just think the birds are tricky, and every year they're getting trickier and trickier. And but that's why we keep coming back and doing it every year. If it was easy, we'd probably get bored of it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, if it's too easy.
Yeah. I mean, if you just go out there and you call and they come running to you, you'd be like, all right, like, what the heck is this? There'd be some way you'd have to make it tougher. This year, I am going to try to kill one with my bow, though. I've tried in years past, and I haven't really had success. I get ticked off, and I grab the shotgun and go. Nice thing about Pennsylvania, you get 2 tags. So one of those tags will be set aside, and it is either I'm killing it with a bow or I'm not filling that tag at all. That's just how it's going to be. And one tag I'll go run and gun. I got buddies coming from Ohio this coming weekend for the opener. So we'll see how that goes. I still got to try to find some birds. I'm a little underprepared this year. We'll wing it and figure it out, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully Friday night we can roost one and run into 1 or 2 in the morning.
Yeah, well, you've been hunting that area enough that you can kind of pick it up really quick and figure out what's going on. And
I got one property where I killed my bird last year. I know there's always turkeys there. So it's a permission piece. I really only hunt permission pieces for turkeys, to be honest. Just because there's so much public land to hunt whitetails around me that I do have a lease I hunt whitetails on, but I don't hunt it a ton. I just have it because it's right by my house. And, it's a quick hitter spot. I can go hit it. I know that property very well at this point. So it's actually where I killed my buck this past year. I went there, I hunted Friday night, Saturday morning, And then Saturday evening, I killed my buck. I'm like, I'm just going to come here, hunt the weekend, kind of just reset and just see what happens. And then I'll go hunt. I'll go back and hunting my Big Woods public mountain bucks that Monday. Well, sure enough, that Saturday night, I killed my buck. And, just the way it goes sometimes. Sometimes you got to go back to what you know sometimes. And didn't plan on that happening. That's just the way it happened.
Well, that's the advantage of doing this. Once you fill your tag, and you don't have any more tags, then you're done, and you go do something different then. And
yeah, I mean that's why I hunt so many different states. I just like hunting new stuff. I like trying out new stuff, and PA, it's kind of tough. Every year I pick up a new spot, and I have trail cameras all over, and I do have a lot of big bucks on camera. And, I've had people ask me, like, how do you consistently find those big bucks? I'm like, I look at it, I'm like, I'm going to be 100% honest. You just got to cover ground. If you're not willing to cover ground, then don't complain about not finding big bucks. That's just the way, that's just, very blunt. And the way I view it, like, if you want to find big bucks, you got to be willing to cover ground, or you got to find them, I guess. Whatever way it is. Like, you can't just sit there and cross your fingers and hope, that, it might work. If you got a really good property and it's managed well, yeah, that might work. If you just sit back, you're like, eventually a big one will come through here. Yes. But at the same time, I like knowing what I'm hunting. I like knowing what's in that area. And that's why I like, and be honest, it's kind of a change of pace, though, when I go hunt New York and how I'm going to hunt West Virginia this year. I'm going to go and probably scout some in West Virginia. I'm going to probably go hunt southern West Virginia is my plan, down in the archery-only counties down there. But I don't know if I'm going to put cameras out. I haven't decided yet. I probably won't in New York. If I do, it'll be like 1 or 2. But it probably won't be cell cams. I can almost guarantee that. I will run cell cameras, though, in Illinois. I will run cell cams over there just because it's so far away, and I would like to know what's over there. It's Illinois. Yeah. It's a different level of whitetail over there. So my buddy and I, we have talked already. We're going to go out to Illinois. We are going to hang cell cams out there. But still, I'm going to hunt how I would back here. I'm going to hunt terrain. I'm not going to base everything off those trail cameras because, trail cams don't see everything.
No, they just see that one spot that they're focused on.
They see what you put them in front of. And I know I've watched good bucks walk right behind my cameras. No pictures of them, but I literally watched him. He was right there. He was 5 feet from the camera, but we didn't get a picture of him because he walked on the other side of it. I've seen that happen numerous times. So I'm like, all right, like it really puts it into perspective. Like, what are you missing?
Right. Unless you put a camera pointing the other direction. So you can
unless you get one of those 360 cameras that Stealth has, or I think it's Stealth. They have one of those 360 cameras you can put, and which is cool, but where I'm hunting, it's ineffective. Because I'm hunting big woods, like, most of the time they will come to that scrape. So I wouldn't get the full use out of it. Most of the time they're going to come to that scrape, and I'll get a picture of them. But, there's some bucks that I've seen bucks, they avoid scrapes at all costs.
Oh, yeah?
They're just not aggressive deer. And or if I get them on camera at a scrape, they won't work the scrape. They'll just kind of come downwind of it, scent check it, and keep moving. And that was that big 8-point I had this year. I had pictures of him last year. He only ever worked the limbs. He never worked the ground that I saw on camera, at least. And then this year, every time he was on camera, he didn't work the ground, but he'd work every limb. So I think it was just a characteristic of that buck that he just wasn't a super aggressive buck. He wasn't super territorial. Now, there was other bucks I had on camera they would come in, they'd rip the freaking limb, it'd get all twisted up, they'd rip the ground apart. Like the one scrape they had, like, it was like dug into the ground. But that buck would always come, that big 8-point, he'd come up on the back, the downwind side, and he'd scent check it. And then he'd move through. He'd either work the limb or scent check it. Every picture I had of him, I never saw him working the scrape. It was just weird to me. But then I started, paying attention to it a little bit more. And there was some bucks that I never got it. And I had a lot of pictures and videos of them. They never worked that scrape. They just came in, hit that limb. And I think it's just a aggression. Like they're just not it. And, it's like people. Some people are super aggressive. Like you say the wrong thing, they're fighting you right away. Other people, it's the same thing in my mind. Now, I might be totally wrong, but that's just how I'm viewing it and looking at it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Each one has its own characteristic, and it's really really interesting how they do that, and had a lot of really cool stories, hunting stories.
Yeah, I mean, I could sit here and tell stories all day. Like that's just I've had a lot of cool experiences in the woods, even though I'm young and whatever. I've just right place, right time. If you spend time in the woods, you're gonna have cool wood hunting stories.
Yeah. Like the time when you're sitting in a tree stand and the bird comes land on a branch close enough that you could kick it.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I've had instances where I've watched this. I've seen an owl. I hear it up there hooting, owling, hooting. That's one of my favorite sounds in the woods. Hearing an owl, and I'm like, man, where is that owl? I'm like, it is freaking close. Like I can feel it in my chest, like how close. And it gets light, and I see it sitting there about 35 yards from me in a tree, 35 yards. I just kind of, a deer coming through. I'm just kind of keep peeking up. I see it sitting there. Squirrels start running around on the ground. And I'm kind of sitting there. I'm like, man, it'd be cool if that owl just came down and grabbed a squirrel. About a minute later, I see that owl start shifting around. I'm like, oh, damn. I'm about to watch him take a squirrel. And there's a squirrel going up a tree. And that owl took out of that tree and pinned that squirrel to the tree. 30 yards right in front of me. I'm like, I couldn't believe what I just saw. Like I was dumbfounded. It, drops it to the ground, goes down on the ground, picks it back up, takes off. I was sitting there with my jaw was on the ground. Like I'm like, I could not believe I just watched that happen. That was one of the coolest things. And like, of course, there's no video of it or anything.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't get my phone out, which I should have, because I knew what was about to happen as soon as it started shifting. But I was just so zoned in on that I was just like, man, that's so cool. Then I was like, crap, I should have videoed that. Like, that would have been awesome. But,
when you get your video out, when you get your video out looking, watching the camera, then you don't get the full effect of what's going on.
No, you don't. And you could hear, like, his wings coming down and everything. You heard it, like, hit the tree. It was so cool. Something I'll always be able to see that image in my head of that coming down and, snagging that squirrel right off a tree.
Yeah, I know one time I was out and sitting in a tree stand and the birds are chirping and this rabbits and stuff are scurrying around, and all of a sudden all noise stopped. It got dead quiet. The birds quit chirping. The small critters, the rabbits and squirrels quit moving. They all went to sleep. And it's like it's completely quiet, no sound at all.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy. It's crazy how they know. It's like someone flipped a switch.
Yeah, bedtime.
Yep, boom, dead. Dead silent. And you don't hear it until it's like a couple minutes after you realize, you're like, wow, it's really quiet.
Yeah.
No, it's like everything. And then that's normally when you see a deer. You just hear crunch, crunch. You're like, oh crap. And it somehow always sneaks up on you behind you. Or something like that. Always sneaks up. You're like, where did you come from? It's been dead silent. or the first thing in the morning when just like you hear the songbirds just starting to start chirp off in the distance. Like that's why I like turkey hunting so much, because you hear all the sounds. Like in the fall you hear those birds, but in the spring it's different. There's so
Yeah.
many more birds you hear. You hear so many more just different sounds and stuff. And you hear that gobble, that first gobble of the morning, and that always like wakes you right up. You're like ready to go.
Yeah.
That's what I'm kind of looking forward to. And like, I mean, I'm a diehard. If you told me I could hunt turkeys or whitetail, see you later, turkeys. Like I'm hunting deer. That's my passion
Yeah.
is whitetails. But man, I do like turkey hunting, and it's something that for about 3 months of the year, or about 2 months of the year, I'm addicted with. But still in the back of my head, every time I go turkey hunting, if I'm like just running and gunning, it normally turns into whitetail scouting, because I'll see something and I'll like a squirrel just hang a right and I'm off. Totally forget I'm turkey hunting. I'm just scouting with a shotgun in my hand at that point, pretty much.
Yeah.
I've done that so many times. I'll look down at my watch or phone. I'm like, oh crap, it's 11:45. I'm like, well, I guess I'm walking out of here with an empty shotgun. Like, I'm 2 miles from the truck. I'm like, well, I'll get out when I get out, I guess. Like,
Yeah. I know there's one time, so I get the fiber optics on my site, and pretty much when they stop glowing, it's time to quit hunting. When they
yep,
start glowing, it's hunting time, because you got to have enough light to light them up.
yep.
Well, this one night I'm sitting in my tree stand, full moon, no leaves, snow on the ground.
Get an extra 15 minutes of light.
Go well, more than that,
Yeah,
because I'm looking. It's like I can see the forest just fine because the full
yeah.
moon, no clouds, and my
Mm-hmm.
pins are still glowing. And I
Yep.
said, it's got to be, you know, after hunting time. It's just
Yeah.
after hour sunset. And so I pull it out and I look at it. It's like, geez, I'm an hour after shooting time. I walked out without no flashlight
Yeah.
out of the forest. It's like they never quit glowing.
No. No, it's crazy how lighting can be like that. And then other times it's like it's shooting time and you're like, I can't see anything.
Yeah.
Like
Well, I
that's
had
how it happened this year's my New York buck. It was dark when I shot him. Like, I mean, it was legal shooting light, but it was a cloudy cloud cover, and everything was full foliage because it was the first week of October when I shot that buck. So we're still full foliage. And this buck, I mean, I can hear him crunching acorns. I can hear him walking, ripping a tree apart. Like, I know it's a buck. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking, and all of a sudden I catch movement. And it's just a big body. I get my binos up because you can see a little better through binos.
right.
And I'm looking, I was like, oh, that's a nice buck. And he's coming right at me. And I'm like, golly, I'm like sitting there, I grab my bow, I grab my camera, I hit record, and it's black. And I'm like, I zoom it back the whole way, trying to turn up the gain on the light as much as possible. I can't see anything. I'm like pointed up at the sky to make sure it's like, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh no, it's good. So I like go back down, and I'm just like, so finally it got to the point I'm like, I'm looking at my pin, I'm like, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough, but I'm not. I'm like, this is the biggest buck I've ever seen hunting in New York. I'm like, I know, he's 100, probably 110 inches was my guess, like 110-inch 8-point, and I'm like, this is the biggest buck I've had in range. I did see one bigger one when I was hunting with the inline a couple years prior, but he was like 300 yards, or he was more than 300 yards. He was like 800 yards away, across the road, up on the side hill, on the property I could hunt, but he was just a ways away. So this is like the biggest buck I've had anywhere remotely in range. And he's coming in, and I'm like, I'm sitting there, I'm like thinking, I'm like, am I really about to let this buck walk because I don't have camera light? I'm like, man. I'm like, you know what? And he's standing there at this moment broadside at 20 yards. And I'm like, man, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to set my camera on the last hole. I'm like, if he comes through that hole, it's meant to be. I'm going to shoot him. Sure enough, he slowly starts working towards that hole. So I get everything in position. I go to full draw, and I'm looking before he steps into the hole, and I'm like, all right, on the ground, I can see my pin. When I go up on his body, I lose it a little bit. So I'm like, man, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. So he steps into the hole, and he's just feeding on acorns. Right there, broadside. I'm like, all right, here we go. So I bring it down below his belly, come up, and I'm like, all right. And I'm like squinting, and I'm like, I can just see my pin is green, and I can just barely see my pin on him. And it's right on the 12 ring. And I'm like, all right, here we go. Shot went off. And on camera, it's funny. It'll be on the video. I'm going to use it. Like I said, it's raw. It's black, and you just see the lighted knock just go, and you see it disappear for a split second when it blew through him. And you hear him take off running. And no one would know that there's a deer standing right there.
Right.
And and I looked at my phone, like, as he's coming in, I'm like, it's legal shooting light. But I'm like, it is dark.
Right.
I'm like, and I'm glad I shot him. Obviously, not very many times you get an opportunity at a 5.5-year-old deer to begin with, especially up there.
Right.
And it was one of those spots where the wind switched. When I looked at the wind the night before, I was like, all right, I know where I'm going. When I looked at my phone halfway up there, I looked at the wind, and the wind had totally switched directions. And I'm like, that is dead wrong for where I want to hunt. And I'm like, I'm just going to have to go to a different spot. And I had this one scrape marked on this creek crossing. And I'm like, for whatever reason, my eye just kept catching this scrape. And these scrapes came around this side hill, and they worked out this other around this side hill. And I'm like, I'm going to go there. I'm like, I don't know why, but something's telling me to just go there.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no reason to. I've only walked down in there one time. I'm like, I don't know, but there's an easy access trail. It's a walking trail going right in there. I'm like, screw it. We're going to go here. In the evening, there's another spot I want to check out, but I haven't walked it. I haven't been in there since turkey season. So I'm like, I'll go in there midday, hang a set, hunt there. So that was my whole plan. I was just in the woods to be in the woods. Right. I'm like, because you just never know. Obviously, you never know. Sure enough, he comes right through, right at first light. I shoot him, and I text my buddy who I was texting before I heard him coming, and he goes, he sends me a video. How in the F did you just shoot? He's walking outside his house because he's right up there by the New York line. He's walking out. I'm like, dude. He's like, what'd you use, a light? I'm like, dude, I swear I did not use a light in any way. I'm like, I have it on video. There is no lights being used in any sort of way. But I'm like, it was by far the toughest 15-yard shot I have ever had to make in my life. Just because the whole situation, honestly, what saved me, I have one of those Bomar nose buttons on my bows. Right. Every one of my bows have them. That's one of the first things I put on is one of those nose buttons. What saved me was that nose button, knowing where that needed to be and knowing I was looking through my peep sight. Because at that point, I just had to make sure my anchor was there, and wherever I put that pin is what I knew I was dead on through that peep. And I'd say to this day, and that is what saved me on that deer, was having that nose button in that heat of the moment, knowing that I was in line with my peep sight. Had I not had that, I don't know if I would have shot, to be 100% honest, because I'm not taking a shot that I have any doubt in.
Right.
And if I got to full draw on that deer and I couldn't see my pin, I would not have shot. I would have let down. And as much as it would have sucked, let that buck walk away. But I knew, I was confident that I was in my peep on that shot. And at that point, it was just, all right, let's just process a good shot. And I shoot a hinge when I'm hunting. I shoot a hinge all the time. 3D, anything. Indoor, I'm shooting a hinge. If I very rare. The only button I would probably do good with is that Onyx clicker, just because it's got that same click in it. It's got that same movement. But that click is just so part of my shot process. I just use that because if I use a button, I'll get the punchies every once in a while. And
Yeah.
it's random. It's random times. Like I'll shoot a dozen shots good. Boom, I'll punch one, and then the next 10 will be perfectly fine. But I quit using a button in 2020 when I was hunting. I had a doe come in. I punched it on her. I shot that. I needed her to take 2 more steps, and I had a wide open hole. For whatever reason, my thumb was sitting on that barrel, so it just went wham, hit that. And I mean, I got her, but I was like, that can't, like, I can't do that because one of these times it'll cost me.
Right.
So I'm like, at that moment I was like, all right, I am switching over to a hinge for 100%, and I have not looked back. I have ran a hinge for hunting ever since. And just everything in general, I've ran a hinge. That's all I use. It just I just really like it. I've noticed my shots are way better. I really do hit right behind my pin. I can say for certain, almost every single deer I've shot, I have hit. Where my arrow hit, I can be like, yeah, that was my pin there. My pin was right there. There's only one I can think of that I know. I don't know why that arrow went where it went. I don't know. The one I know, I was shooting the hinge when I hit that one buck low, but I know I hit a limb. I can replay. I can still to this day replay seeing that lighted knot going, and now looking back, I can see it kind of make a dive, and that's when it clipped that little limb, and I can see it. And but that one, I just don't know. It was a doe, and I hit her just a little bit back. I still to this day don't know if she rolled forward a little bit, or I just kind of did one of these right as I shot. I don't know. I mean, I got her nonetheless, but just one of those. I'm like, man, what the heck was that? That's the only shot I've ever had that I cannot tell you exactly what I did. Like there was a doe I hit last year. I hit her back. But I hit right where my pin was when it went off. It just went off a little bit back. And it was one of those, I didn't realize how she was quartering. She was quartered a little bit. When I went to full draw, she was broadside. And as I was going through the process, she kind of shifted her weight a little bit. And she was quartered when she kind of swung her leg back a little bit. And I just didn't realize it, in the heat of the moment through the peep sight at full draw and everything. Just, didn't notice it. But, I mean, I hit right where my pin was. I mean, right where we slowed it down, went frame by frame by frame on a big screen TV. And I'm like, my pin was right there. And I put my finger right where my pin was, and the arrow was covered up by my finger where it hit. And I was like, well, I can't even complain about that because that's just me. Like, I hit right there. So, I mean, I've just noticed for me with a hinge, I have been making way better shots on deer. And I've always made pretty good shots on deer. Like, I've always normally made it count. And that's something I pride myself on. But with a hinge, I got no doubt. Like, if it's in front of me and it's in range, it's dead. I got 100% confidence. I do my job. Now, every once in a while, you have a deer that just matrixes an arrow.
Right.
I've had does that just matrix the arrow. I'm like, I don't know how I missed that doe, but I did. I have no clue. But I'm like, I know I did my job good. And, if I do my job and the deer somehow, dodges the arrow or whatever, I'm like, I can live with that,
Yeah, not much you can do.
Yeah. As long as I do my job, that's all I care about. And with a hinge, I feel like I just do my job a lot better.
Well, and you're consistent. That's the part you got to be is consistent.
Yep.
And you're comfortable with it, shooting all the time. And I use Carter Chocolate Addiction. It's a thumb one. But
Yep.
all the knurled knobs you have on them, mine don't have it on it. They're just in the
Okay.
way. That what those knobs for me do is it makes me put my thumb around that,
And
and
it
now
just makes
then,
you want to. Yep.
yeah. So I have just the trigger, and it fits down into the pocket in here.
Yeah, and
So
you can
now,
just. Yep.
and then I can actually put pressure on the release because there's thumb right there. If I have that knob on there, that would kind of make it fire. Because
Yep.
on that one, there's no travel on it,
Mm-hmm. Yep. I have
and
a Carter. I have the
so
Insatiable.
oh yeah, so
Yep.
and I have the hardest spring in it they make.
Okay.
They come with, I think, three different strengths. I put the
Yep.
hardest one in because
Yep.
I don't want any movement. I want to be able to go through and pull through on it. Now, if I need to force it to fire, I just tighten my hand up a little bit. Just
Yep.
a matter of just making a little bit tighter
Just
fist to make
making
it
your
go off.
fist just a little tighter. Yep.
Yeah, but I pull through and I hunt with that.
See,
And
I put travel in mine. I added some travel to it because I like feeling that travel. Because with a hinge, you're feeling travel as you're pulling
right,
through the shot. And that's where I started shooting that. I messed around with that Carter. Actually, my buddy has it right now. But I added some travel to it so I could get that same sort of like little movement through the shot as I'm just slowly processing through. Boom. It kind of does the same thing for me. I know some guys, they'll have like a spring trigger. Like they'll have like one of those heavy springs as like a barrel.
yeah,
That way they're feeling the travel. And, that just didn't personally work for me. But
yeah, and
adding a
it
little
don't work for
travel
me.
to that release, to the firing mechanism part, it worked really well for me. If I were to switch back, that's how I would set it. But I have no reason to switch back. I mean, I can
Right.
I can go out here right now with my bow if it was, not as windy as it was right now. But the one sportsman's club I shoot at, there's a big bail target out at 100 yards. There's clay pigeons on it. I mean, I can go out there at 100 yards, no issue, pull up. First shot, I'll be damn close to that pigeon, or I'll hit it. Second shot, if I missed it, I normally hit it that second shot. I mean, I was doing that when I made my sight tape for Total Archery Challenge. I was back the whole way at 120 yards, and I was shooting 5-inch groups at 120, 5 to 6-inch groups at 120 yards. And it's just, just doing the same thing every single time. Just same pressure forward, pulling. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to shoot a deer at 120 yards. Not on the first shot. Now, if I hit one and he's out there like hunched up at 120, I have confidence I can make that shot count. But that's, one of those rare like occasions. That's a bomb of a follow-up. And normally I can't even shoot that far where I'm hunting. Like 120 is just for fun at Total Archery Challenge. But I mean, there is, if you were hunting out west or something, I mean, my setup, I'm fully capable of ethically harvesting an animal at that range. I mean, I shoot a Sequel 35. New 2025 bow from Darton. 25, yeah, 25 bow. It's at 80 pounds, like 82 and a half, 83 pounds. 30 and a half inch draw with a 500 grain arrow shooting 310 foot a second. I mean, it's cruising, and whatever gets in the way of it, I feel bad for it because it's going to go through whatever's in the way.
Yeah.
And, I know I could make that shot. I know I can. I trust myself to make that shot. But it wouldn't be, I would not, that'd be a different type of hunt, like maybe a mule deer hunt or something. Even then, like it'd have to be perfect conditions.
Yeah, at least a little wind or
Yeah,
just one little step
yeah, exactly. And I
you
mean,
got that hit.
I'm gonna be testing that bow either. Well, I go to Hawaii next March to hunt goats, pigs, and sheep. And I have a buddy from there. He's bought a couple bows from us at the bow shop here, Blue Jacket Archery. He's bought several bows from us. He's came to PA twice, back-to-back years. He's killed bucks on the first day here in Pennsylvania, which I'm like, this year you're getting garholed. Like, I'm putting you in a new spot first day. and you're gonna have to figure it out a little bit. I'm not the first year he came, he hunted here. He hunted him. He was on the stand 10 minutes and shot a buck. And I was like, it is not this easy, I swear. This year he came,
Yeah.
he hunted the morning. I think he saw a little deep. I don't know if he saw anything the first morning, actually. But we moved a stand, and then the first evening, he shoots a buck. And I'm like, dude, like, what the heck? I'm like, I figured we'd see bucks. I didn't figure he would get a shot at one. And one came into 20 yards. And I'm like I'm happy for him, but at the same time, like, this is not PA hunting. I swear it is not this easy. But he's had a harder time killing does than he has a buck.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, these PA does are kicking my butt. He killed one in 2023. He killed one on the last day he hunted here. Right before he had to fly home, he killed one. This year, he didn't kill one. I'm like, I swear, deer hunting here is not as easy as you were making it look.
Yeah. You said Blue Jacket Archery in Pennsylvania?
Yes. Somerville, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, okay.
That is my grandfather's shop. He used to have yep. Yeah, we're always posting stuff on Facebook. We'll have some cool videos coming up here. It'll be from Total Archery Challenges coming up. We'll have like we'll post some stuff from that. Hopefully have some turkey footage coming up. We'll see. But my dad and I, we do like blog style, like as we go through the whole summer. So we'll do like, 5-10 minute videos just talking about, hey, what we're doing for this day to improve for deer season, or what we're doing to practice, what we're doing with our setups to practice for deer hunting, whatever. We always like to do those sorts of videos and stuff, just kind of, blog style, type stuff. The first time we tried it, we're like, we don't know how it's going to go. But customers seem to receive it well. They like the info. We're always giving little tips. We'll do several live streams throughout the summer of just like Q&A type stuff. It's just fun, good way for us to interact with customers. And even like we have a big following because we've done some videos that have went viral. Like last year, I posted a video from my Oklahoma Total Archery Challenge, and it got like 70 million views or something like that.
Oh,
69 million, something absurd. Like, it was crazy. A lot of that was because they thought the 3D target was a real animal, and they thought it was tied to a tree and couldn't go anywhere. So PETA, obviously, there were some PETA members that got involved in that. And it was
that'll make it go viral.
Some of the comments in it were comical. At first, we were blocking comments. I was not, but my grandfather, he was blocking them, and I was like, no, like, stop blocking those comments. People are loving to see those comments. Like, I'm getting texts daily. They're like, oh my gosh, did you see this comment they commented on this video? And I'm like, no, I haven't. So I'm going to look, and I'm like, no, people are like loving those comments. So we don't now we don't delete any comments. We don't. The only time we'll ever have, we used to like block and delete people just through being really, asinine, I guess is the best way to put it. But we kind of I'm like, no, like, they're helping us get views by doing that. So I'm like, if they want to be complete and utter a-holes, let them. Like, they're just saying their opinion because everyone has their own opinion, and especially on Facebook. I'm sure everyone's got their own opinion on everything. They're all professionals. And but yeah, my dad and I, we have a lot of fun with this. It's something that we're just a small little shop, but my grandfather, he's just 30 years, or probably 30 plus years of experience total between all of us. We got dang near 100 years of experience combined in the archery industry. My dad, my grandfather, he used to own another archery shop. He moved to South Dakota, sold that archery shop, moved to South Dakota. moved back. He moved out there with my uncle, so his son lived out there. He moved out there with him. Was out there for probably 5 years, 4.5, 5 years. Moved back because most of the grandchildren were back here. He missed us, moved back, and most of the family in general was back here. He missed all of us, so they came back and had no intentions of starting an archery shop. And people in the area wanted him to restart up an archery shop, so he started up small. And originally, it was just this little cabin part I'm in, which is like 10 yards long and about 8 yards wide. Like, it was just real little. And since then, we put an addition on, and we just look to keep growing it in the future. We're trying to stay kind of small. We don't want to be huge and have a lot of overhead and stuff because, just the way everything is right now, it's a lot of uncertainty, as of right now with what's going to happen, everything. But we're trying to stay small, but in the future, we look to make a move, add on, or, get a different building or whatever to just keep growing and be one of the premier archery shops in this part of the state again. Because that's what he was before he, sold his shop. And now we're kind of starting from the ground up again, re-rolling. But, with our experience we have here, we can fix anything. You bring a bow in here, we can put it back together, whatever. He's worked on every bow that's ever been made. And that's where I learned to be a bow technician. And it's way of life. You go into all the ins and outs, and it's just like archery hunting. You get addicted to it, and there's always something you can do to improve your setup.
Oh yeah.
That's the way I look at competition archery. This year's going to be weird because I'm kind of taking a step back from competition archery. This year I'm not. Last year I went to all the IBOs, did all the IBOs, and I like doing the IBOs and stuff. I'm still probably going to do the Pennsylvania one just because it's 50 minutes from my house.
Oh yeah.
But the one up in Franklin. But I think this year I'm going to do a couple more total archery challenges. I'm going to do one more total archery challenge. I'm going to do the PA one, and then I'll be headed to Montana for the new one in Montana. But I just had to make a decision. Do I like hunting or do I like shooting competition more? And I'm like, it was a no-brainer. I like hunting way more. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to take, instead of going to these shoots, I'm going to sub in a total archery challenge for one, and then I'm going to go on a different hunt and stuff. So that's kind of the game plan right now. Got a packed 2025 season. From mid-September on, we're rolling. And there's no stopping until, I'm out of tags or out of time. One of the two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Yeah. Starting out mid-September, I actually have an alligator hunt with a bow down
cool.
In Louisiana. So we are excited for that. My buddy and I are going. And then from there, it'll be whitetails, balls to the wall until, like I said, probably February when Ohio goes out. Either I have a buddy who lives over there. He has 600 acres. He's gracious enough to let me hunt. All I have to do is kill some does and help put in food plots and help whatever else on the property. So
sounds like a fair trade.
Yeah, I'm like, dude. And he's like, this year I shot a call buck over there, a 3-year-old 6-point that he was never going to amount to a crazy big buck. So he was like, why don't we just shoot him? And I was like, he's like, are you good shooting him? I'm like, dude, you let me hunt all this property. I will shoot whatever you tell me to shoot. Like, we're looking to shoot 5-year-old deer over there. That is the goal. We had one 4-year-old that was on the hit list just because he was just a short time bully 8-point. One of those bucks, he's got about as big as he's going to get probably. He probably ain't going to get, he's like, let's take him out. there was this big 6-point that we decided while I was there hunting in mid-November to shoot, because we passed him the first morning. I had him at 25, 30 yards first morning. I hunted there. And I was like, we're sitting there in the stand. This buck's standing there at 25 yards. We're like, do we shoot him? Do we not shoot him? We're like, kind of, and I'm like, we're both like, I think he's, only 2. I was like, if he gets another year, he might change into something next year. We go back, we look at the video. I'm like, oh, we should have shot. We're both at the same time. We're like, we should have shot that buck. I'm like, well, if he comes back through, I'm going to shoot him. Last morning of the hunt is when he came back through, and I shot him that last morning. But, I passed a 4-year-old 8-point that has a ton of potential. So I hunted Friday, Saturday, Sunday is what I hunted there in the rut. Friday, I saw that 6-point. I passed several other bucks Friday. Saturday, passed a stud young 8-point that's going to be an absolute hammer this year. And then that Sunday morning is when I shot my buck, and actually that was such a hectic morning. We had so many bucks come all within 20 yards of us, and it was cool how it all panned out. Something I'll never forget. But I've never had 6 bucks on one hot doe. She was hot. You could hear them breathing, like open mouth breathing as they're running by us. And it was just so crazy. But yeah, we got a number of good bucks there. We had the one buck, he was probably 150 inches this year, I would say. Maybe a little more. My buddy passed him at 20 yards because he was only 4 years old. And I'm like, hats off to you, dude, because I don't know if I could have done that. He's like, it's easy if you don't grab your bow. I'm like, yeah, but that's the hard thing, not grabbing your bow. Like, your first instinct when you see that big of a frame standing there is to reach over and grab your bow. But, hats off to him. He's got a good piece of property. We're trying to get it back to how it was before Blue Tongue rolled through there.
Yeah.
That's really the only private property I hunt is his piece. So everything else I do is public land, which I love hunting public land. If I can don't get me wrong. If I can get permission on a property, I'm going to get permission on a property and hunt that permission piece. I'm not one of these guys where it's public land or nothing. I don't care. I like killing stuff. I'm going to do whatever gives me the best chance of killing something.
Right.
And, whatever it is, whether it's door knocking, if I have to pay a little bit, I'll pay a little bit if it's, the right situation.
Right.
But most of the time I'm just hunting public land just because I love that, hunting a new area and just using woodsmanship. That's something that I learned at a young age, mostly turkey hunting, to be honest. I feel like that's where you really can hone in your woodsmanship is during turkey season. I hunted with my grandfather a lot in turkey season. We'd always hunt together, especially during the youth season here in Pennsylvania, because my dad would take my 2 younger sisters out. So then I would go with my grandpa, which, we always had. Normally we'd always kill a turkey. And, he's one of the best turkey hunters I've ever met in my life. He plays the patient game to the point it's annoying, but it's super successful.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I don't know how he does it. But he's good at it, and I give him props for that. But like I said, I'll give him hats off. He's one of the best deer hunters and turkey hunters I know, and I feel like I really was in the right situation to learn from some of the best, in my opinion. I was just born into the right family, I guess you could say. I feel truly blessed to have been born into that family, to just the amount of knowledge that every time we sit down and have a conversation, I pick up something. And if you're not learning, you're done. Like,
right. You always got to be learning something.
There's always something you can pick up. And, I swear he's hunted every piece of property known to man in Western Pennsylvania. Because I say about a spot, and he's like, yeah, I turkey hunted there back in the day, or I deer hunted there back in the day. And he used to walk gas lines for National Fuel. So he covered
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of this ground. He's covered a lot of ground. And, I just, something to put in my back pocket,
Yeah, well, what would you say to somebody that's trying to get started? Just kind of in closing here. We've been talking for 2 hours now, so
Yeah.
it just goes, it goes, it goes. But
Yep.
what kind of suggestions would you have to somebody that's looking to get started?
In hunting or just archery in general?
Well, either one, whichever one you
Okay.
want to do.
I'll go first archery because that's going to be the quicker of the two.
Right.
Get what you are comfortable with. Don't feed into this because this name shoots it, I have to shoot it. No. Get what you are comfortable with. If you go to and most of the time you're not going to go out right off the rip and buy a top end bow. Most of the time
No.
you're not. So let's look at example because we sell a lot of them are the bear package bows. You get a bear package bow. The biggest thing, the most important thing is getting your draw length correct. Getting that good foundation. In my opinion, if your draw length is correct, you can shoot any bow well.
Yep.
Some bows better than others, but especially and this leads right into starting, if you're just going to shoot, if you're looking to kill a white, if you're looking to get into shooting archery to hunt, if you are one of those guys, and let's face it, most guys are this way, July, August is when they start getting their bows out and shooting.
Yep.
You don't need a $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 bear bow to break it out then because you're not putting enough arrows through it throughout the course of the year to make it worth the money. Now, if you're a guy like me and several, I know a bunch of other guys this way, they're shooting year round. They're shooting indoor leagues. They're doing this. They're doing that. Okay, I can see you going out. But these freaking package bows nowadays are so advanced. You can pick those up and you will go, and most guys will not know the difference shooting that bow compared to other bows. So I guess my biggest piece of advice is don't feed into the media push, I guess is kind of how I'm going to put it.
Right.
And as far as hunting goes, honestly, go with the same thing. Do what feels comfortable to you. As far as hunting, like getting tips and stuff, I guess this goes in the other way. Watch videos, but make sure they are knowledgeable sources. Don't just look up on YouTube and look at the first video that pops up. No, like the guys that would be good, I can think of right offhand, like a Chris B or the FMJJ. As far as that stuff, Levi Morgan, any of those types of guys. Podcasts would be like the Bow Junkie Media podcast, any of those sorts of podcasts like that. But knowledgeable sources will help you go a long way. I just listened to podcasts 2 days ago, and I've been doing this since I can't even remember, and I'm like picking up pieces. I'm like, wow, that makes sense. Like, why have I not tried that? Why did I not think to try that? Like, it's just, you can always pick up something, no matter how old you are, how long you've been doing this. I really feel like social media can help. It can also be bad, but it can help big time.
Like I see a lot of videos of these different people shooting, and I look at them and they haven't even shot yet. I was okay, they're going to grab the bow and they're going to cram on the trigger. Sure enough, they have their finger pointing out and cram on the trigger and grab the bow.
Yep. Every time.
The hunting videos, I've seen some of those older ones.
The amount of hunting. We were watching one. I forget we were watching. It was when we were at my buddy's house in Ohio. We're watching videos and we're just seeing guys just punch the ever-loving crap out of the trigger.
Yeah.
And I'm like, good grief. Like, you don't notice it until you start paying attention to it and you're watching it. You see it over and over and over and over again.
Or drawing way too much weight and they're struggling and then they're all this moving around.
Sometimes it's tough when it's cold. and you've been sitting there all day, I get it. That first draw of the day is rough, but still,
Yeah.
like you should know what's going to happen.
I always tell archers, if you can't slowly draw that bow back, like you have a deer watching you, it's too much weight.
Yep. I always was told sitting down.
Yeah,
That's
because
how
that's a
that's
bit
how I
harder than
learned.
standing.
I was sitting down and I lift my bow up and draw, but like I ain't to the point where I'm coming like I'm just
Right.
eye level, boom, fall right into it. That's how I always if you can pull your bow back like that, smooth, easy, no issues, you got the right poundage. That's another thing. The right poundage can make a big difference too. Just
Yeah.
as much as the draw length. Don't be egotistical and just because your buddies are shooting 70 pounds and you can only comfortably shoot 60, it's different muscle groups. Pulling a bow
Right.
is muscle groups that you do not use. You can see these giant bodybuilders, they can't pull back a 75-pound or a 70-pound hunting bow. Just because
Sometimes
even though
even a 50.
they're walking around, they're freaking huge, they can deadlift 400 pounds. Bench 350, no problem. But it's different muscle groups. They're not used to using those muscles.
Well, the
So,
muscles you use in your back are only used for drawing a bow.
yes, that's the
You don't
only
use them
thing
for
they're
doing
used
anything
for.
else.
Nope. So don't don't be afraid if you have to bump down your poundage and slowly work up. You gotta do what you gotta do. I remember my dad when I was younger. He'd put maybe a quarter turn at a time. If you have, and I wouldn't even notice it. But if you just, every
Right.
week, if you just put a quarter turn in your deadbolt and your bolt, just put a quarter turn in each one. Every week. Say Saturday, every week you're like, all right, you go put a quarter turn in it. Quarter turn in it. Quarter turn. Eventually, you just work yourself up slowly to the point where you are pulling that bow back, no issues.
Yeah, I know. My first compound bow I shot my first deer with is at 52 pounds.
Yeah.
And I'm working on it, and I finally got up to 60, and then it was a struggle to get up to 62. And once I got 62, then I went all the way up to 70 with it.
Yeah.
But it took that long. It took a long time of shooting and shooting and shooting and bumping it up
Yep.
a little bit, and then you get worn out, like you were saying, and then got
Yep.
62, and then all of a sudden, okay, now they developed, and then I shot at
Yep.
70
Yeah, you
for
just got to
many
keep
years.
working. And the best way to work those muscles isn't in the gym. It's just shooting a bow.
Right.
You
Hit the
can't.
bow.
I mean, there's lifting you can do to help develop those muscles, but ultimately, it's just shooting a bow. It's the
Yeah, and
best way to develop those muscles.
and they're really tough to try and get that motion. I've got some bands that they give me
Yep.
when I was going through rehab, that I push this hand out and I draw back to my anchor, and then I go through with it.
Yeah.
And so now I'm going through the motion of shooting a recurve.
Mm-hmm.
Because compound's a little bit different. You really can't.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let go of that strap and smack my arm.
Yeah.
So as because it's working those back muscles, and
Uh-huh.
you work them, and then have another something else come up, and you're starting all over again and starting over
Yep.
again, and it's one of the things that's gonna take a while, and
Yep.
so
Yeah. It's something that you're not just gonna pick up overnight and do it.
no, and it helps having somebody teach you.
Yep.
There's a lot of stuff on that, and one of the things I offer to those that are in the Arch Talk 101 Facebook group is, if you're struggling with something, go on your phone and record
Mm-hmm.
your shooting and upload it to the group, and then I'll take a look at it, or someone's take a look at it, and I'll give you pointers.
Yeah. I mean,
You know?
that's something. If you're listening to this, you want advice on anything, either do that or you can send us a video at Blue Jacket Archery on Facebook or my personal Facebook account, whatever. Like, I'm more than willing, because I normally am the one that checking the messages on the Facebook for the
Yeah.
shop. I'm pretty much running the social media for the most part. So I mean, I'm the one that checks all his messages. I try to keep up on it daily. But any questions about anything? I mean, I've had guys ask me questions from anything from where, send me a picture of a topo map on Onyx, like a screenshot. They're like, where do you
Yeah.
think would be a good spot for a stand here? I'm like, okay. To, advice on, what arrow spine, whatever. Like, I've had so many random questions, but, I love answering those because I'm just like hoping I can help that person, be successful.
Yeah, I was down. Nebraska Game Parks has a women's event where they take them through shooting bows and guns, rifles and handguns
Yep.
and shotguns, and I was helping down with the archery, and then this guy was walking down, just walking down a trail and come up and was all done. So I sat there and helped. Hey, I taught him how to shoot. He'd never shot before,
Yeah.
and that's just we just like doing that.
Yeah.
I
I
can't
mean,
do
we're
a
not.
whole lot without, some kind of a, compensation. But hey, if I can help you out with something, I will. But if
Yeah,
we're gonna do it like on
exactly.
a weekly basis or something, that's a little bit different. But
Yeah.
yeah, upload it to me, and what I'll do is I'll leave links in the description for the podcast uh, on the places we've talked about, and then I'll leave links to your Facebook account
Okay.
and
Perfect.
YouTube account, and that way they can get a hold of you.
Yep.
I don't know if you have a regular. Oh, you don't have a website actually, but
No,
a
we
lot of
don't.
places
We
don't.
we had a website, but people weren't really using it, so we were like, why?
Yeah.
They were just calling us. They're like, hey, do you have this bow in stock? And I'm like, well, the website, but no one ever used it. So I'm like, well, screw the website. Like,
Right. Save the money. Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
I'll leave all those in there, and um, we'll just make sure we have descriptions in there. And it's been really great talking with you, and the time went by pretty quick, and
yes, no
a lot of
doubt.
cool stories and a lot of good information in there. And I know the listeners are going to enjoy listening to it, and
I hope so. I hope so.
and we'll get going there. So thanks for being on the show, Hunter. I really appreciate it. And my name is Roy Canterbury, and I've been your host on Arch Talk 101. Remember, you can watch the video on my YouTube channel, Learn to Fix Yourself, or on the Arch Talk 101 Facebook group. I'll upload it to there. And you can always listen to it on Audible and Spotify and all the other places you can do that. So it's been great. Stay tuned for the next one, and make sure you contact either one of us if you have a question, we're glad to help.
Yep.
So, all right. Um, been great, and we'll talk to you later.